Anthony Carnesecca, assistant to the city manager, has worked in local government for over 11 years um, at the city of San Jose, the city of Santa Clara, and currently at the city of Los Altos. During his time at Los Altos, Anthony has served as a liaison for Los Altos businesses to guide them through the city regulatory processes, researched and analyzed administrative and operational policies, programs, and projects, drafted agenda reports to present to the city council, provided outreach to a number of external organizations on behalf of the city. Anthony, welcome. And Anthony is going to begin with a presentation.
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here today. I'm going to share my screen. I have a presentation that I'd like to show all of you. I'll get a thumbs up from Joe when it's up and running. I think it's good. Thank you all for being here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anthony Carnesecca. I'm assistant to the city manager. I've been with the city of Los Altos for 7 years this month, which is pretty crazy to think about. And I'm excited to talk to you all about our downtown park community engagement and outreach plan. Really, today is going to be an overview on what we're going to do over the next uh, half a year, probably about a year plus of community engagement and outreach as we work through the downtown park project. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And I do want to preface with all of this that today is not the last time you will see me, the last time you will hear from me. I will be out and about as much as I possibly can, as you're going to see in the presentation. And then if you have ideas for ways that I can continue to improve the plan and continue to be out in the community, please let me know. So a little bit of background. In January of 2024, City Council directed staff to explore the possibility of a downtown park. And that was really the beginning of this project. And through summer of 2024, city staff completed a preliminary assessment for the best park location downtown. So it was identifying what exactly the criteria were for a park and how we could make sure that what we were looking at would be the most successful park project that it could be. And then fast forward to spring 2025 this year, the city signed a contract with Watchery and MIG for community engagement and design services for this downtown park with parking project. So on this map, you can see an overview of downtown. If you didn't know, downtown parking plazas have numbers that are associated with them that we often refer to them as. So you can see parking plazas 1, 2, and 3, which are the southern parking plazas, the south parking plazas, parking plaza 4, 5, and 6, commonly referred to as our central parking plazas. And then parking plazas 7, 8, 9, and 10, the north parking plazas. And so as I go through this presentation, I'm going to be using those numbers to describe the different parking plazas. And across the way here, you can see the Civic Center is up on the right, Safeway, and then Lincoln Park is down here on the left. So parking plazas 1 and 2. Some of the big benefits and the big benefits of parking plazas number 1 and 2 would be that they are rectangular. They are clearly defined in their shape. So when it comes to fire access, making sure that we have access to the backside of adjoining properties, which is obviously a major concern for property owners, business owners as we look at projects. Parking plazas 1 and 2 were the best uniformly shaped parking plazas that would provide access to the backside of buildings, emergency access, and a significant amount of park space and flexibility in between those access points that could create a high quality park space. So those were on the top of our list as we're looking through these. Parking plaza number 3, you can see the parking plaza runs along the entirety from Enchante all the way. It's single stall parking along here, single row parking as it opens up into here where you have Los Altos Grill. Parking plaza number 3 is a unique shape, so it would be a little bit challenging to identify how you could ensure access for parking plaza 3. And it's uniquely situated right on San Antonio Road for the park space, which would present different concerns from the city side. And then the central parking plazas. So parking plazas number 4, 5, and 6. I'm gonna combine these all into one conversation around the central parking plazas. Largely because they're very narrow. So when you look at parking plazas number 4, 5, and 6 from overhead, you can see that there's buildings and properties that stick out at various points throughout the parking plaza that create irregular shapes as you move through here. So if you were to explore the possibility of a park space on parking plazas 4, 5, and 6, the access points would create numerous pinch points along all of these plazas as you move along. I actually walked this last night at the farmers market with someone who was curious about the central parking plazas. And there's numerous places where it would be very confined, and the city is looking at how we can create a high quality park space for this project that we have before us. In the north parking plazas. So parking plazas number 7 and 8 have been identified in the housing element as priority housing project sites, and the city is working to explore those through a separate process known as the Surplus Land Act. So that's a different conversation. But parking plazas number 7 and 8 do mirror number 1 and 2 in most of their benefits as far as access along the neighboring properties, the uniform shape, the good size that would provide a substantial amount of park space. And then parking plaza number 9 is unique because the city does not own the majority of parking plaza number 9. We own a quarter of it, and then a private property owner owns 3/4 of parking plaza number 9. So parking plaza number 9, although it was uniform in shape, did present those options that made it more challenging for the project. And then parking plaza number 10 is irregularly shaped in the way that it's kind of directioned. It bends around on the way to Edith, and it's actually adjacent from Village Park. And so that was one of the major reasons why parking plaza number 10 was not considered for the shape and location. So as I talked about, the preferred location moving forward has been identified as parking plazas number 1 and 2, with half of number 2. So it would be parking plaza number 1 and half of 2, with half of number 2 being earmarked for a downtown performing arts center that is going on a separate track for fundraising efforts. And so a little bit about the existing conditions. You can see that it's surface level parking in the downtown core. It's across the street from the historic train station. It runs from 1st to 3rd Street. And so, as I mentioned, we're talking about all of parking plaza number 1 and then half of number 2. So this is a picture that I took on, I think, a Thursday afternoon of the parking plaza, showing what it looks like now. You can see that there are some overhead utilities. There's some utilities that run below ground that are obviously as part of the consideration for this project. And then the dumpsters, you can see a little blue dumpster along here that you know very well if you drive our parking plazas on a regular basis in the backsides of all of our buildings in downtown. And we had an architect put together a drawing about a year ago to show what it could look like. This was just a conceptual drawing to really get the creative ideas flowing from both the city and the community about the possibility that what is currently now space for cars could become an open space for a park in the future. And along with that, hopefully draw lots of people to our downtown to spend time at our local businesses, restaurants, retailers, eateries. Our office employees that work downtown could use this park space. Our new downtown residents that are moving in, I think, by the minute at this point, as they move into new housing in our downtown area, could utilize this space. And then this shows the possibility as we look to identify space that could be used for larger events that could bring the community together in this brand new park space for the city of Los Altos. So a little bit about who's on the team. So city staff, I want to be very clear that I use the term expert very loosely for myself. For everybody else we're partnered with, I stand by it. But for myself, I look at myself as a community expert. Looking at the name list of names on this call, I think all of you know who I am, and I'm my best effort to be out in the community. So city staff will make sure that we give the community lens on this project and make sure that our consultants understand the unique nature of the city of Los Altos and everything that helps make us tick. Watchery Design is a parking expert. They have over 2,000 parking projects. Some of them are a stone's throw away from Los Altos. They're nearby at Stanford University, numerous hospitals. They really are a leading expert in the field of parking. And then MIG is a design expert. So they have lots of great experience in designing park projects for municipalities. They have over 1,000. So MIGE was actually the consultant that worked on the out exterior of the Los Altos Community Center. So if you have walked through our new community center space, which if you haven't, I encourage you to spend some time at our beautiful facility right across from downtown, you would see MIG's work in action. So they did a very good job of getting feedback from the community on what the community would like to see for the exterior elements of the community center and then integrated that into this project. And we look forward to seeing them already knowing the community and what it is that we look for in a space and how we can place this in downtown. And then a project that they just recently completed down in Pasadena is a really great project that I wanted to highlight, which is the Pasadena Playhouse Village Park. So as you can see, it is a park space. This was all originally a parking lot, similar to what we're talking about here. And then they've converted it to a park space with an active playground park space, and then a stage and theater or a stage for live theater, music, performances, as you can see here, movie nights, all sorts of activities, and becoming a community hub. And then there is the activation element of other parts of it. So finding ways that you can make sure you use every inch of the park space. And this was a great project that highlighted their expertise, and we're excited to bring some of these elements to Los Altos if possible. So the project phases. There's really four big phases of community engagement that I want to touch on, which is prepare to engage, which is where we are now. We're on the tail end of preparing to engage, developing a park vision, advise on alternatives, and celebrate a preferred concept. So preparing to engage is really preparing all the elements that we're going to need to take out to the community. It's social media, newsletters, it's emails, it's advertisements in the newspaper, it's flyers, it's all of our easels that we're going to carry out in the community that's going to log all the feedback that we're hoping to get through this. The next element is developing the park vision. So going out to the community and asking what elements of the park and parking can be made successful so that everybody feels involved, heard, and brought along through the process. That's going to be this key element that we're about to move forward into. And then advise on alternatives. So once the developing of the park vision is there, the consultant team is going to go back and kind of put together three preferred concepts on what the downtown park could look like and what are some of the elements that the community wanted. And then finally, go back out to the community and identify and celebrate the preferred concept. So bring those three elements back out to community engagement, present them to the community, and say, what do you think of these designs? And these designs are based largely on the feedback that we've heard in the developing of the park vision. So there's going to be two huge components of this where we're going to be out in the community as much as possible, trying to solicit feedback from individuals, business owners, property owners, anyone who'd like to talk with me. So behind the scenes, as I mentioned, we've been finishing the brand. We've been polishing the web portal, drafting these emails, all the information that's going to be released, creating project materials. I do want to present that we are going to have two kind of main one-sheeters that we'll have at all of our community engagement events. One of which is the list of what the project is, where we're at in the process moving through that. And then the second one's going to be a list of FAQs. So hopefully we can answer a lot of questions for people who may not know about the project, who'd like to know why we selected certain sites. Have we considered all of these different options on the project moving forward? And then finally, we've been scheduling a number of events. So I'll segue into what we're going to do over the next 3 months. So June through August, we are going to be doing regular engagement at the farmers market. So not this upcoming week is Juneteenth, so we will not be there, but the following week we will be doing regular engagement at the farmers market and city events. We have planned pop-ups at various locations around town. So we plan to on a Thursday afternoon, pop up at a local park or community space or a business that we know has a lot of individuals that we'd love to get feedback from, and try and solicit that feedback from folks who maybe don't go through the traditional avenues of coming to community meetings, workshops, different things like that. And then we will be presenting to the Chamber of Commerce, LaPod, and Lava. So we will be going to a number of organizations. And that's one of the reasons I'm here today, is to say that we will be out in the community as much as possible. And then we're going to have two community workshops in July and August. So we're going to schedule those and then release those dates to make sure people have that. And then we're going to collect feedback through a web portal. So we're going to we have a website that is almost done and will be opening up soon. And that will have all the FAQs, the calendar of all the events where we're going to be at, and then provide an opportunity for people who want to provide feedback directly through the website to do so. So once I have that information, I'll pass that along to the steering committee of the community coalition, and they can pass that along. While this is happening, this community engagement, we're also doing a site investigation. So while all of this feedback is continuing, we are doing various surveys, studies, and reports on the site to make sure that the site is viable. What are the concerns? What are any things that we should be aware of for the site moving forward? So that way, when the time comes at the end of this round of engagement, we can move forward with understanding the site in its totality and what the community would like for it. So September through October, this is really going to be the quiet back behind the scenes phase. So we start right now behind the scenes, then we're going to come out to the community, and then we're going to go back behind the scenes to distill the community feedback. We're going to take all of the feedback that we hear from the community, put it into a report on the community engagement process, what we've heard, what are the overarching themes, what are the elements that the community would like to see in a park space. And then we're going to continue to evaluate the existing site conditions. And then finally create three distinct design alternatives. So as I mentioned, coming out of the phase of the community engagement and then behind the scenes work, the consultants are going to put together three design alternatives that will be presented to the community for additional feedback. And so in October and December, if this slide looks familiar, it's because it's the June through August slide, similarly repeated, that we're going to continue to calendar direct feedback opportunities. I'd love the opportunity to come back to this group potentially to present those three design alternatives to get feedback in this time frame, continue to collect feedback through the portal, and then identify if we missed anyone in the first phase. If there were any groups or individuals or demographics that we felt like were not represented in the process, we want to make sure we identify those and try and solve those gaps moving forward. Um, and with that, 2026 and beyond, after they do that, they will go back and create initial design documents. Obviously, sprinkled in here, there will be times where they present to City Council and get feedback from the council and the relevant commissions on feedback. And then we're going to update the community through the design process. So this website is going to remain live throughout the entirety of the project, and we want to use that as the landing hub for any questions that individuals may have as we move through design in future years. And finally, I want to leave you with these parting thoughts, which is right before you see the parking plaza as it is today, where we have the cars parked at grade level. Obviously, in this project, we are evaluating parking object options, whether that's below grade on site, potentially above grade adjacent to the site, different opportunities for that. But what we have is the potential to create a transformative downtown park that could become the new community space and hub for our community. That if we get the community engagement and outreach done correctly, we could create something that will be able to positively impact the community of Los Altos for many years to come. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that people may have.
Great. Thank you so much for the informative presentation, Anthony. Really appreciate it. I have a few questions, and then we'll open it up for questions from our participants today. I think you answered the first one I had, which was when you plan, what the timeline is. Um, second question I had was, how does the timing of the proposed downtown park with parking fit in with the timing for one, proposed housing on plazas 7 and 8, and two, the proposed theater on half of Plaza 2?
So the good news about all of these projects is that they are all city projects. So the city is able to control the timeline on them, the phasing of them, making sure that we can maximize the benefits and minimize the negative impacts. I have heard from the community that obviously there is always concern when we do construction in downtown and making sure that we find a way to phase these projects appropriately. Obviously, as part of this feedback, we want to identify how we can make sure that we do that in an appropriate manner, and then obviously lean on the consultants for how we can properly create a project that can be phased if necessary. So you do different elements at certain times in order to maximize that benefit in the long term for the community.
Okay. And hopefully, as we open this up for people to make have questions, how can members of the organizations of the Los Altos Community Coalition help advance the community engagement plan for downtown park with parking?
That's a great question. I urge everybody on this call to please come to as many community engagement feedbacks as possible, or at least one. We'd love to hear from you, your thoughts, your opinions, what you'd like to see for a successful park space. And then obviously share it with your community groups. Let people come to these events. Let people know that we are going to have lots of opportunities. And I did want to emphasize that there are going to be the advertised calendared big events, but as I mentioned, we are going to have numerous pop-up events. And the goal is to try and reach people who we don't normally reach out to. So if you know folks in the community who typically don't get involved, I think a lot of people are usually going to have thoughts and opinions on a park. So we'd love to hear from those individuals who are not typically involved as well.
Great. Anthony, thanks again for the great presentation and additional insights. I'd like to now open it up for attendees with questions. Please raise your virtual hand and I'll call on you. Remember, one question per person and no speeches, please. Krista, I see your hand is up. I think you were muted, Krista.
Hi guys, sorry I was a little late on the call. Anthony, would this park be where the downtown splash pad would also potentially go?
I think that's a great question. Obviously, as we work through the community engagement process, we'd love to know what the community would like to see in the park. And if that is a splash pad, obviously we would want to, flesh that out a little bit more. But we're excited to hear from the community on what they might like to see. And if that is a splash pad, that would be a great design element that we would like to see moving forward.
Thank you. Lou, you have your hand up. Please unmute.
Will there be a workshop focused just for the business operators that will be surrounding this area and how they could fit into the plan?
Absolutely. So, as Kim mentioned in the intro, one of my umbrella areas is economic development. So, I know all these business owners that are neighboring these properties very well, and I want to make sure that we have the opportunity to sit down with the consultants and really talk about what it would be like to operate a business adjacent to a park space. And additionally, I think that conversation would also be how can we make sure that the businesses are set up to succeed if the park does move forward? So it's an ongoing conversation on how the if influences the design elements, and then once we influence those design elements, how we can make sure they succeed if and when that park opens.
Great. Any other questions? Any suggestions on how, I think this is an opportunity to do two things. One is make suggestions about how to have effective community outreach. Perhaps you can put these in the form of questions like, have you thought about XYZ in terms of outreach? But I think it's also an opportunity for specific input on the proposed park. Krista, you have your hand up again.
I do. Sorry, I limited myself to one, but if nobody else has questions, I definitely have another. As you know, Councilmember Lang and myself live very close to this park. I in particular. So I'm curious about how you're gonna what's the shutdown time, sort of so to speak, in terms of that existence and how you manage that with the community.
The shutdown of the parking plazas.
No, no. Once the park is built, like on Plaza One and Two, I'm really directly across Foothill, almost exactly. So I'm just curious, is it like a 10 p.m. and the city police will sort of manage to make sure that people know that they need to go on their way, or what's happening with that?
Gotcha. So more of hours of operation
Hmm.
for it would operate probably pretty similar to all of our other parks in town. I believe that they have the hours when the park space is open to the public. And then after that time, they would be circulating to make sure that everybody's abiding by the rules. Obviously, depending on how it would work in design. If there's any sidewalks, obviously we would want people to be able to meander home if necessary through the space, but avoiding any loud activities or different things that would not be allowed in our normal parks because it would just operate as a normal park space downtown.
And then it kind of back to my earlier question, because the Community Foundation is offering over $1 million grant towards the splash pad, could that, if it's not happening there, right? Like then I'm, in terms of just effort towards getting this park to happen, this little downtown park, I would be interested in knowing like what are your other proposals then to the community in terms of how you're going about letting people sort of pick what they want. That also confused me a little bit when you were listing that off.
So I think through the community engagement process, it's really broader questions, not necessarily specific design elements like, do you want to see this? Do you want to see that? It's, do you want it to be more active? Do you want it to be more passive? Do you want to I'm just going to throw out ideas, but how important is it that it is every element is accessible to all individuals? All of these things that are really important, kind of higher level questions. And then the consultants are going to go back and obviously kind of put the pen to paper and say, how can we take the feedback on these high level themes and really draw them into specific elements that will provide a benefit to the community. And so once they understand, we'd like to have activities for children, hypothetically for a splash pad or something similar, then the consultants can go back and say, how could we design that in a way that's beneficial and what are the things that we'd want to hear? And then obviously, I think with uniquer design elements like the splash pad, we'd obviously want to get feedback on locations. Is there, if that was to be an element where we could place it that would provide maximum benefit to the community. So.
Thank you. Art Whipple, you have your hand up.
Hi, Anthony. It seems to you mentioned a little bit about whether it would be below ground parking or not. It seems to me that you mentioned that there were other places where you could do the parking, but I'm not aware of any. You're almost certainly going to be having below ground parking. Hopefully, to add to the parking, hopefully be bold here. Add more parking to a couple of levels of below ground and maybe even have the park above ground. Is that one of the thoughts that people are thinking about it? That it would be because looking at the backside of all of those businesses from the park might not be ideal.
So when we went to city council earlier this year, the idea was this would be a park with below grade parking. And right now we're looking at all potential options, whether that would be below grade, below the park for the parking, or do we place it adjacent in another parking plaza with podium parking or something like that? Or do we do both? Could we do underground parking and podium parking? I think at this point in time, the parking experts are evaluating the possibility of all of these options and how they fit in, and then how many stalls, obviously, we would get in all of these different design options moving forward. So through this first phase, obviously, we're focusing really on the high level of how can we make sure we get the park right? How can we make sure we evaluate all the options for parking? Because as you mentioned, there aren't too many options for parking, and making sure that the consultant can put together what those would look like and bring those back to the community for input and discussion moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands up. Krista, you have any others?
No, I think I'm good. I'm excited. I enjoy the energy and the attention that's going into all of this, and I look forward to it being a real community asset and bringing people together. So, much like First Fridays and what Los Altos Forward does for the community. But this is going to really physically, like the farmers market, get people meeting together. You have a whole group of teens hanging out already by the liquor store there on the weekends, oftentimes. So it gives them maybe a sense of place as well, kind of on that backside. So I think it's great.
The only question, since Krista mentioned it, if anyone knows where all the teens hang out all the time, please email me because I want to make sure that was a direction from City Council, and I have taken that to heart and really would like to identify if anybody knows. We're obviously going to go to the teen center at the community center, the teen room in the library, but if there's other key locations, please email me because those are, we want to make sure we reach out to all of our stakeholder groups in this process.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I can't figure out how to raise my hand. It's Scott. Sorry, I was a little bit late. Scott Hunter with the Lava. Wanted to at least still, I know maybe there was an opportunity that Anthony mentioned earlier, but we have been talking about trying to find different places throughout all the different events that Lava does, as well as other things that are going on, spots in downtown, to make sure that he gets all the outreach that he does. So he has been talking with us, and I'm sure he's been talking with others. We look forward to getting feedback as well from not just the community, but someone, I think it was Art, asked about the businesses, and certainly we will be part of the outreach that Anthony does to the downtown businesses, and not just the ones that are backed, but all of them.
Great.
But anyhow, that's all I had to say.
Okay, great. Anybody else with a question here? We may set a record for early endings of a coalition meeting. One comment I wanted to make that Anthony, you and I discussed is you may end up actually with sort of a mix and match situation where you have several, I think you mentioned three possible park solutions, but also then three parking solutions to go with that. And the council could choose number one from parks and number three from parking. So there are a number of variables here. And I would assume too that in looking at the parking solutions, while they're going to be primarily focused on parking solutions for the parking displaced by the new park, they're going to have to be looking at too the impacts of loss of parking at Plaza 7 and 8, to what extent that is fully covered by the housing projects there, and ditto with respect to theater. So if not all the theater displaced, all the parking displaced by the theater is picked up under the theater, then trying to figure out larger solutions, as you'd mentioned, perhaps podium parking on other parking plazas. So just sort of a comment there, but and an observation. And I assume that's correct.
That is correct. We are working with the consultant to set them up for success and set us up for success by evaluating all of our options and being able to provide as many things as we can to the community in this educational process. And then I did want to mention, even though folks may not have questions now or may have individual feedback, I'll put my email in the chat. Obviously, I think everybody on this call probably has it, but if you want to meet individually, I'm always happy to meet individually. Throughout the summer, we're going to be at the farmers market every week. We're going to plan to be at the Art and Wine Festival, soliciting feedback there. We're going to be at a number of other major events. And then we're going to have these big community workshops that I would love for people to attend, along with smaller focus type groups with our business community, property owner groups, and make sure that we can get feedback from all of the relevant stakeholders. But I welcome all feedback, and I'm always available to chat individually if people have any questions.
Great. Last call. I'm not seeing any new hands here. So again, thank you, Anthony, very much for the great conversation today. And thanks for all the great work you and others at City Hall do for the city. Really appreciate it. Want to make a few announcements before we sign off here. Our next meeting will be Friday, June 27, 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. Please join us for a discussion titled Los Altos Budget with John Maginot, Assistant City Manager, and Jesse Kim, Finance Director, and a special guest moderator that day, Robin Abrams. It should be a great discussion. Please support Los Altos Community Coalition by going to our YouTube channel and clicking on the subscribe button to subscribe to our channel. Link to our YouTube channel is posted in chat for your convenience. If you'd like to be added to the Los Altos Community Coalition mailing list, please send an email to info@losaltoscommunitycoalition.org. This email is posted in chat for your convenience. Finally, Los Altos Community Coalition is a program of Los Altos Forward, a project of the Los Altos Mountain View Community Foundation's Local Impact Collective. LAMVCF is a sustaining sponsor of Los Altos Forward. Thank you once again, Anthony and everybody for joining us here this morning. Look forward to seeing you all on June 27th. I'm going to cede the rest of the time to you to return to your normal programming on Fridays and have a great weekend. Thank you all.